All right. So welcome, 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 my dear audience, my guests, and my listeners, viewers. I have with me here JoAnne Funch. She is a LinkedIn trainer. She's a strategist. She's a speaker. She's an author. And she's one of my very first mentors. If I can call that. And
Mm.
she works with individuals, companies who want to leverage LinkedIn to manage their reputation, to build a personal brand, and find and engage prospects to build value-based relationships. Actually, I met JoAnne 3 or 4 years ago through a mutual friend called Roy Mayer, and we also
Mhm.
helped her launch her webinar at that time. Ever since, we've been staying in touch, and I really enjoy reading her emails. And each of her email professes one thing, which is a value-first philosophy. When I met JoAnne a few years ago, I was so excited about learning new tactics and new shiny objects and things like that. And just one call, that took me from believing that, being tactic and tools oriented. And at the end of the call, JoAnne made me realize that tactics comes and goes, but then if there is one thing that always remains, it is building relationships, building long-lasting and meaningful relationships. So I have to give that credit to JoAnne to have opened my eyes towards it. So over to you, JoAnne, to talk about LinkedIn or beyond LinkedIn, how to
Yeah,
create a standout personal brand, building influential network, and how to drive more sales through social selling.
yeah. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's a look forward to having this conversation.
Absolutely, Joanne. Pleasure is all mine. Great, great. So I want to ask you this question from a very long time, actually. I've been on LinkedIn for more than a decade now, and then I've built about 15,000 plus contacts or connections on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And you know, I, I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn which either ask me to schedule a time with them to, go over a call, or,
Mhm.
for me to read their email. I mean, read they go to their landing page or join the webinar and whatnot. And the more and more I see, like every day I get at least a dozen of them in my account because I have such a big network.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be seen like one of them, wherein when I approach someone, I want to approach in a very, a unique way, wherein I shouldn't come off like spamming, or I should not come off like I am trying to sell something. And one of the things that you told me is also about how to approach right. So
Yeah.
can you tell me and my audience what is the right way to approach people on LinkedIn?
Well, I think the first thing is you come from a perspective of it's about them, not about you. So, regardless of, well, let me back up a second because I think it's important that we have a goal. What is your goal for your network? It could be that you want to build brand awareness. It could be that you want to connect with an influencer. It could be that you're prospecting. It could be a lot of things, right? So I think you need to understand those goals first.
Yeah.
Because once you know what your goals are, you absolutely know who you want to connect with and what
Right.
you want to say. So, using that as an example, let's say that you just want to build and expand in a certain industry, let's
Okay.
say. And so you want to invite somebody that you see who might be influential in a particular industry. You simply have to say to them, um, first of all, you always send a personal message, always. And
Okay.
secondly, in that personal message, you want to tell them why they're interesting to you. Why do you want to connect with them? Mention something that you've read in their profile, or you want to make sure that you have learned about this person before you make the ask, because first impressions are everything, everything.
Right.
And so that first impression of saying something like, I've seen your work in the industry, I admire what you're doing, I would really be honored to have you part of my network. That would be a first outreach, right?
Okay.
And if they accept, you want to start nurturing that the same way by adding some value, by commenting on their posts. You have to earn the right to take it to the next level, and the next level being right. A phone call, a take it offline kind of communication. You have to earn that right. Does that
Wow.
make
So
sense?
earning that right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So like approach really matters. Once you actually think about this approach, right, no one will actually bother about what templates to use and, things like that, isn't it? Because this is completely anti-template, anti,
Totally.
so, so when you take
Totally.
time, yeah, absolutely. So to summarize what you just said, JoAnne, uh, if you have to approach someone in a very authentic and genuine relationship building manner, it should be first about understanding your own goals, which is why do you want to reach out to them in first place. Then take some time to learn about that person, right? And send out a message which creates a really good first impression. And then start nurturing by adding value, commenting on their posts. And one thing which I really like that you said is earn the right to communicate with them, or earn the right to associate with them. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes. You have to earn that right.
Perfect, perfect. So
Yeah.
I really love that answer. Anything else you wanted to add on to it?
Well, I can't stress enough that first impressions matter, whether they're digital. And so first impressions have gone digital. And we're here talking about LinkedIn, right? So whether it's LinkedIn or any social platform, how are you showing up? How are you presenting yourself? Have I, in that one or two sentences, have I impressed you enough that you would want to know who I am? Those are
Right,
the things you need to think about. It's not a numbers game, right?
right,
You want to align your connections with your goals.
right.
So
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well said.
it's not about quantity, right? So
Yeah.
I would encourage you to go through your connections and remove people.
Oh yeah, removing something which I've never even thought of.
Yeah.
Maybe I will, start removing connections. Those are not
Yeah.
uh,
Cleaning up
going
your
to the,
connections
yeah,
is really important to getting the right network,
right.
because when we talk about having a network and you've got LinkedIn will show a percentage of that network, your posts.
Uh-huh.
So think of it this way. Do I have a network that I want to see my posts now? Has that changed over the years? And if it has, you should clean up your network.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great. Thanks. Thanks for that, JoAnne.
Yeah.
So, how can I generate inbound inquiries without ever having to outreach? Ever?
Well, I wouldn't say ever, but what I would say, how I would answer that is to tell you that the number one thing you can do is improve your profile. So having a really awesome profile will attract leads and clients organically if it says the right thing. So again, think digitally, right? If I came to your profile, what am I going to see? I'm going to see that the first thing I'm going to see is your name, your photo, your headline, and that banner image. If those things immediately aren't attracting me, I'm gone. So that's where it starts. You want to make sure that your headline has some keywords, but also has a compelling statement about what you do or who you serve. Okay, so it's not enough anymore to put a title, because it doesn't tell me anything.
Right.
And then the last piece is that header image. That is valuable real estate. And I can't believe how many people leave that default blue image on the top. That, you've got a big billboard
Yes.
there to
Yes.
advertise anything. I mean, if you're a business owner, you would want to make sure you have your company branding.
Right.
It's a message board. So
Absolutely.
that's number one. And then following that, if that's impressive enough, I'm going to scroll down, and the next thing I'm going to see is the about section, which used to be the summary. And you have 2,000 characters to tell your story. And when I say tell your story, you know, this should include keywords because LinkedIn is a search engine, but it also needs to be interesting and compelling. And why do you want to do business with me? So it has to be client-centric.
Right.
So written from the client's perspective, not yours. That's what resumes are for.
Yes.
Totally different. Yeah. But getting back to why it matters, you're also going to enhance your own professional reputation. So that's big, right? If I'm searching for people in an industry, I'm looking for someone who's credible, who has a great reputation. Having also this profile establishes trust a lot faster. So if it's completed properly and it really tells your story, you're creating trust immediately. It absolutely can facilitate relationships with decision makers because your profile is saying, here's what I do, here's who I serve, here's results I get for people, and here's what you can expect working with me, and here's how to contact me. If you don't have all those components, that won't help you attract people organically.
I see. Perfect. And on top of that, JoAnne, profile optimization will help, asking questions on groups or being helpful on groups. Will that help generate inbound inquiries?
It can, although groups have become really stagnant the last few years. People just
that's what I thought.
Yeah, they're not very active in groups. But think of it this way. Think of it differently. If you're engaging with your network, meaning people are posting content on the home page, and if you engage in intelligent comments, people are naturally going to click to see who are you.
Right.
And they're going to go to your profile.
Perfect. So more than focusing on groups, it makes more sense these days to focus the efforts on the feeds, right? The LinkedIn feeds.
Content. It's all about content.
Okay. Absolutely. Sure. Great.